The CEO ordered the single dad to stay away. Days later, she begged him to save her daughter. Vanessa Hart had a rule about keeping things simple. She kept her office clean, her schedule tight, and her personal life separate from everything else. After 7 years of building her real estate firm from a single rented desk to a team of 22, she had learned that clarity was everything. You drew a line, you held it, and you did not apologize for either. The one thing she had never quite managed to keep simple was Emma. Emma was 10 years old, loud in the best possible way, and absolutely certain that rules were suggestions written for other people. She laughed too big, talked too fast, and had been best friends with Reyes since the first day of 3rd grade, when Lily had shared her crayons without being asked, and Emma had decided that settled it forever. Lily's father, Daniel, was the facilities supervisor at Brookfield Academy. He fixed broken things, managed the groundskeeping crew, and knew every corner of the school building better than anyone, including the principal. He was quiet in a way that was never uncomfortable, the kind of man who listened more than he spoke and meant everything he said when he did. Vanessa had not planned to like him. She had not planned anything about it, which was probably why it happened so naturally. Over 3 years of school pickups and fundraiser nights, and 2 separate occasions where they had both been caught in the rain without umbrellas, a friendship had grown in the space between 2 people who were both too tired to pretend. He made her laugh. She made him think. Their daughters were already a unit, and somewhere along the way, so were they, even if neither of them had said it out loud. Then Richard called his lawyer, and everything shifted. Her ex-husband had never been particularly involved in Emma's daily life during their marriage. Since the divorce, he had been even less so. But now, with a new girlfriend and a new image to maintain, he had decided that more custody was the right move. His lawyer was efficient and unpleasant, and very good at her job. Within a week, she had produced a photograph, taken at the school's fall festival, of Vanessa laughing with Daniel beside a cider stand. The angle made them look closer than they were. The caption his team attached to it in the filing was worse. Vanessa's own lawyer sat across from her and spoke carefully. "It's not about what it is," she said. "It's about what it looks like. Richard's team will argue distraction, poor judgment, inappropriate closeness with a school employee. I know it sounds absurd, but family court judges have wide discretion, and we don't want to give them anything to work with." "We're friends," Vanessa said. "I understand that. And I'm telling you, for now, distance is the safest answer." She drove to school that afternoon, already knowing what she had to do, and hating it. She found Daniel near the parking lot, loading equipment bags into the maintenance shed. He looked up when he heard her footsteps and smiled, the easy kind that she had stopped noticing because it was always there. She did not smile back. She kept her voice even, and her eyes somewhere past his shoulder, because looking directly at him would have made it harder. "I need to ask you something," she said, "and I need you to just agree without a lot of back and forth." He went still. "Okay. I need you to keep your distance from Emma and me for a while. No pickups, no chatting in the lot, no group things, just space." A long pause, the kind that filled up with everything she wasn't explaining. "Can I ask why?" he said. "I'd rather you just trust me on this one." She watched him take that in. He nodded once, slowly, and said, "All right?" Nothing more. No argument, no wounded expression, no demand for more. He just turned back to what he had been doing, and she walked to her car, and that was that. Emma did not take it as well. "Why can't I go to Lily's house?" she asked that night at dinner. "It's just a busy time right now, baby." "It's always a busy time. You're always busy." "Emma?" "Lily thinks I'm mad at her. I'm not mad at her. Why can't you just tell me what's happening?" "Because some things are adult problems, and they're not yours to carry." Emma stared at her plate. "That's what you always say when you don't want to explain." Vanessa let the silence sit between them, and told herself it was temporary. But temporary started to feel permanent. The days stretched, and Emma grew quieter and more irritable. And at school, the 2 girls apparently kept apart without understanding why, which seemed to make everything worse. Vanessa watched her daughter come home with the kind of flat expression that 10-year-olds wear when they're learning something sad about the world and can't name it yet. On the 6th day, it broke open. Emma came home already wound tight from something that had happened at lunch. Vanessa, who had spent the afternoon in a meeting that had solved nothing, was not at her best either. It started over homework and became about everything else within minutes. "You made me lose my best friend because of something you won't even tell me," Emma said, her voice rising. "You just decide everything, and I don't get to know anything, and it's not fair." "Emma, lower your voice. You care more about looking perfect than about me actually being happy. That is not true, and you know it." "Then why does it feel like it?" Vanessa sent her to her room and stood in the kitchen with her hands on the counter and her eyes closed, breathing through it. By the time she went to check on her, Emma was asleep, or pretending to be, and Vanessa let it go until morning. But Emma was not there in the morning. Her bed was empty, her backpack was gone, and her bicycle was missing from the garage. The note on the kitchen table was 5 words: "I went to the trail." Vanessa knew exactly what that meant. There was a hiking trail that ran past the old Kellerman quarry, about 2 miles from school. A route Daniel had taken the girls on 6 times the previous spring. Emma had talked about it for weeks afterward. She had called it the best place she had ever been, which was a significant statement from a child who had also been to Disney World. She called Emma's cell phone. It rang 4 times and went to voicemail. She drove to the trailhead, walked the first quarter mile calling Emma's name, and came back to the car when the sky turned the kind of gray that meant business. The weather had shifted overnight. A storm system that was supposed to stay north had changed course, and now the wind was picking up, and the temperature was dropping, and the light was going wrong. She called the police. The dispatcher was kind and thorough, but Vanessa could hear the weight of the evening in the background. Other calls, other problems, the storm creating incidents across the whole county. A unit would come when one was available. She should stay near the trailhead and keep trying to reach Emma. She stood beside her car in the rising wind and looked at the tree line and felt, for the first time in a long time, completely lost. Then she drove to Daniel's house. She had never been to it before, but she knew the address from a school directory she had never had reason to use. It was a small house on a quiet street, lights on in the front room, Lily's bike chained to the porch railing. She knocked and he answered quickly, wearing an old sweatshirt, clearly just home. He took one look at her face and said, "What happened?" "Emma's on the quarry trail," she said. "She left before dawn. There's a storm coming, and she's not answering her phone, and the police can't get there for hours, and I don't know that trail, and you do." Her voice broke at the end, and she let it, because there was nothing left to manage. "Please, Daniel, I'm asking you to help me find my daughter." He didn't say anything about the parking lot conversation. He didn't ask for an explanation or an apology. He just said, "Give me 2 minutes," and went inside and came back with a headlamp, a packed medic kit, and a coil of rope over one shoulder, all in less time than she could have found her own car keys. They drove to the trailhead together and went in. He walked like someone who had moved through difficult terrain before, not fast but steady, covering ground without wasting energy. He told her where to put her feet and when to wait, and she followed without question, which was not something she did easily. The wind moved through the trees above them with a sound that was almost like water. "She'd go to the overlook," he said. "It's where Lily always wants to stop. About a mile in, there's a rock formation above the quarry. Good shelter if you know where to tuck in under the ledge." "How do you know Emma would go there?" "Because it's where you go when you want to feel something big enough to match how you feel inside." He said it simply, without drama. "I've done it myself." They found her exactly there. Emma was huddled in the space beneath the rock overhang, knees pulled to her chest, her jacket damp, and her face tear-streaked, and her right ankle swollen, where she had slipped on the trail an hour before. She looked up when she heard them and burst into tears. "Mom?" Just the word, just that, and then Vanessa was across the ground and holding her. Daniel crouched down beside them and checked the ankle with calm, practiced hands, not broken, but badly sprained. He wrapped it from the kit, pulled a foil emergency blanket from the side pocket, and wrapped that around Emma too, talking to her the whole time in a quiet, even tone that gradually slowed her breathing down. "Can you hop on one foot if I carry the pack?" he asked her. "I think so," Emma said, sniffling. "Then, we're going to be just fine. Ready when you are." They were back at the trailhead in 40 minutes. The police unit arrived at the same time, and after a brief check by the paramedics who came behind them, Emma was cleared. No serious injury. Hypothermia risk averted. Just a sprain and a scare. The medic asked who had wrapped the ankle, and Daniel said he had, and she looked at the job and nodded approvingly. Emma fell asleep in the back seat on the way to the urgent care clinic, the foil blanket still around her shoulders. In the parking lot outside, while Emma was being checked in, and Lily's grandmother was on her way to collect Lily from Daniel's house, Vanessa sat on a bench in the cold and finally said what she owed him. She told him about the custody case, about the photograph, the filing, her lawyer's advice, the calculation she had made, and how quickly she had made it. She told him she was sorry she hadn't explained, that she had been afraid and had handled it badly, and that he deserved better than being dismissed without a reason. He listened to all of it without interrupting. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "I'm not going to pretend that didn't sting," he said. "Because it did. It felt like I wasn't worth an honest conversation." "You were. You are. I was scared and I made the wrong call. I know what it is to be scared of losing your kid," he said. "I'm not going to hold that against you." He exhaled slowly. "But I need you to know that I am worth an honest conversation. Whatever else this is or isn't." "I know that," she said. "I've known that for a while." He nodded, and something between them settled. In the weeks that followed, Vanessa made a decision that her lawyer did not love, but did not try to talk her out of either. She stopped pretending that Daniel Reyes was a stranger. She told her lawyer to make the case on the actual facts, her involvement in Emma's school life, her consistency, her presence, and let Richard's team try to make something out of a photograph of two people smiling at a cider stand if they wanted to waste the court's time. Richard's attempt fell apart under cross-examination. His own record of missed weekends and late pickups made the argument difficult to sustain, and the judge was not interested in it. The custody arrangement remained as it was, with minor modifications Vanessa herself had suggested to give Emma more flexibility. Emma's ankle healed in 3 weeks. She and Lily went back to being exactly what they had always been, which was loud and inseparable, and constantly negotiating over whose house was better for sleepovers. Emma never fully explained why she had gone to the trail that morning, and Vanessa never pushed, because she understood it well enough already. Sometimes you go to the biggest place you know, because it's the only space that fits what you're feeling. On a Saturday in early November, the 4 of them went back to the trailhead together. The sky was clear, and the leaves were at their best, all rust and amber and gold, and Emma walked beside Lily with her hands in her pockets and her ankle perfectly fine, and her mouth already going about something that had happened at school on Friday. Daniel walked beside Vanessa and said nothing for a while. The trail opened up ahead of them, winding into the trees. "You know," he said, "you were right about one thing." "Just one?" He smiled. "The trail is better with more people." She didn't answer right away. She watched Emma and Lily disappear around the first bend, already running, already laughing, already 10 steps ahead. "Yeah," she finally said, "it really is."